everyone. Sorry, I had some technical difficulties getting into my live, and of course you hear my dogs in the background. Today I want to talk about what does being an influential leader mean. And the dogs are going nuts. Let me just message P to let him know to take the dogs so that we are okay. All right. So what I want to talk about today is what does being an influential leader even mean? Because this is the era of influencers. You know what I mean? Like everybody and their mother is trying to get to that 1 million viewer point of wanting to be an influencer, of wanting to dictate what brands they can control, what audience they can control, so on and so forth. And at the end of the day, we all just sort of assume we know what being an influencer means, but we don't actually talk about what being an influential leader means. And that's what I want to talk about today. And also, quick shameless plug in is that if you want to truly learn about what being an influential leader in your mindset, in your behaviors, and in your actions actually mean, join me on my workshops this week and the masterclass over the weekend so you can learn more about it. But let's get into it. Here is what I think influencers think about what influential leadership means. The general consensus is that you have to have millions of followers. The general consensus is that you have to be able to just sort of put a post out and everybody and their mother follows it, which great, great if you're a fashion influencer or any other kind of influencer, really. If you have that kind of a following, yes, you have that kind of a pull. But you don't actually need millions of followers. You don't even need 1,000 followers. You don't need any followers for you to be an influential leader, a leader who is not just dependent on your title or role, but a leader who persuades people, who opens new perspectives to people, to get them to consider these new perspectives. That's what influencing actually means. The idea of influence boils down to, can I open your mind to a perspective that you were previously not open to? And granted, you may not 100% fall in line with me, but can I at least get you to think about it, right? Influence is about how persuasive can I be for you to consider new perspective. And for that, you don't actually need a title. You don't actually need like an authoritative role. What you need is your mindset, and what you need is your intentionality, your purpose, and the impact that you want to have. Because truly speaking, being an influential leader actually means you 100% fully identify your ego's needs, and then you put them aside in the name of service. You say, here is what I need, but here is what serves you better. And my goal as a leader is to serve you outside of what my needs are. My goal as a leader is to help you thrive outside of what my needs are. That is the hallmark of an influential leader. An influential leader, and this may sound contradictory to people, I'm not sure. This may sound contradictory, but an influential leader actually puts their ego aside. An influential leader is looking to help people, is looking to help influence people, is looking to help persuade people, is looking to help empower people to realize the best of themselves. There are, as like, let's say I'm an influential leader. As a true, authentic, influential leader, what my needs are don't matter to what the needs of the service I need to provide are. Because at the end of the day, my influence on anybody's life is about, am I helping you thrive? Am I helping you be the best version of you? That's where influence comes in. You have to be able to completely and holistically recognize your ego needs and then detach from them to be able to serve at your highest capacity. For that, you don't need a role, like an official authoritative role. Why can't I say that word today? Authoritative role. There you go. Or any sort of an official title or anything of that sort. Being an influential leader also means you have to be authentic. Being an influential leader also means that while you learn from the past, you are also projecting into the future, and you are able to think 18 to 24 months past where the rest of us are to understand what are the needs of the future going to be, and how can I start carving paths towards that future, towards where I can get people to be in a situation where they can fully and maximally thrive. Now, that this may seem like a huge amount of responsibility, but and it's interesting that I'm bringing this up because I'm actually doing a masterclass on this, not this coming weekend, but the next weekend, on balancing your masculine and feminine traits. This idea of being an influential leader actually comes from your stereotypical feminine traits of collaboration and leaning into your intuition versus logic. Regardless of your gender expression, it's when you can combine and assimilate traits like these and integrate your intuition, your collaboration, your reliance on logic, your reliance on systems, all of them, that's when you're going to be a balanced leader. And immediately, what I want to talk about influential leadership is that every single one of us has the innate capacity to be an influential leader in our organization. Our voices have never been silenced, especially those of us who are in traditionally marginalized groups, in quote unquote minority groups, in women of color, people of color groups, or any of the other traditionally marginalized groups. We are the ones that have been speaking the loudest and that have been screaming the loudest about our needs. So our voices have never been minimized, but existing power structures have made it to where we think the power of our voices has been diminished. That's not the truth at all. The power of our voices has not been diminished. There's just a lot of muck to clear through. Being an influential leader means you reach out with a place that's not from your ego, and you clear out that muck, not for your sake, but for the sake of the thriving of those you are serving. And this is of an especial importance to those who are in mainstream leadership, those who are in the majority leadership. And what I mean by that are predominantly Caucasian, white men and women. There is a distinct level of fear among that population, among any population really, actually, It doesn't matter who you are. If you're a human being, there is a distinct level of fear that has been established of, am I going to say or do the wrong thing? Because if you make half a wrong move on social media, you're going to get crucified for it, because anything that goes on the internet is there permanently. That has led to action paralysis among a lot of leaders, especially among those leaders who are mainstream, who are trying to understand marginalized groups' needs and minority groups' needs. As an influential leader, especially as an influential leader from a marginalized or a minority group, what I want to tell you is that your voice has not been minimized, yet at the same time, as an influential leader, your role is not also to educate other people. Your role is to tell your story, to tell the story of your unique, authentic, lived experience. That's what we need more of. And yes, there are countless number of us doing this. We still need more, because the more we bring our stories out, the more we can educate all of us that these are actually our lived experiences, and our power structures made it so that our lived experiences have been diminished until now, but this is how we can amplify these voices, and this is how we can amplify our impact. So for you to be an influential leader, again, it doesn't take a title, it doesn't take a role, it doesn't take authority. You have the innate capacity to be an influential leader. One, you have to understand why the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that we've done up to this point won't serve us well for the future, and what does serve us well for the future. Because of generational differences, because of differences in the meaning and implications of what the words diversity, equity, and inclusion even mean to subsections of our marginalized populations. That is coming up in a workshop tomorrow. I will put the link in on all of these sites as soon as this live is done, so that if you want to learn more about it, you can join that. We also have to be resilient. We also have to tap into our innate resilience and bounce back further than we did before. And by that, again, I don't mean we have to educate other people, or that as somebody who is marginalized, that you have to carry the burden of the marginalization. Marginalized people already pay a very high emotional tax. They already deal with an untold number of unresolved microaggressions. And I'm not even talking about mansplaining. At this point, mansplaining is expected. That's the sad reality. I'm talking about the nuances even beyond that. But as a marginalized person, there are spaces in which we can influence. We can leverage the power of our voice to become positive change agents in our organizations, in our community spaces, in our social spaces, in all of the interconnected spaces of our lives, to where we are the leader we want to be in all of the spaces. Because, and I've said this before, but I want to reiterate this. All of us wear a million hats, professionally, family wise, socially, relationship wise, community wise, spiritually, million different hats. The head under that hat is always the same. So my goal is not to target your hats. My goal is to target the head under that hat, and to make sure that the foundation of the person under that hat is so solid that you will realize no matter what hats you wear, you are still the same person, and you are still an influential, impactful, visible leader in all of your spaces. That it does not take you to be a different person in different spaces for you to be a leader. You as a leader is who you are. That is your core, regardless of the hat you wear. And that really is what being an influential leader means. It means being able to connect people across all of these spaces because of your core, because your purpose is so strong that, it's like, I don't know if you have any of you have watched Avatar: The Last Airbender with Aang. When Aang goes into Avatar state, all the temples across the world shine this beam up so that nobody on the planet does not realize that the Avatar is in Avatar state. Yes, I'm geeking out. I'm completely obsessed with Avatar, and this is like the eighth millionth time that this is coming up, but that's okay, because I really love that show. But really, that's what being an influential leader means, is for you to realize at your core, you are such a stable, solid person that regardless of the space that you're in, you are able to persuade. You are able to open people's eyes to new perspectives, and you are able to get them to consider even the nuances, even the smallest details, no matter how superficial they are, that allow them to grow and develop. Ultimately, that's a point of influence. Influence is about growing networks. It's about growing your network, but it's also about growing the greater network, and it's about a greater social cause. If you think about influencers, they always have a greater social cause. So, what is your greater social cause? And how are you going to bounce back from this time of uncertainty, from this time of panic and chaos and, oh my gosh, I don't even know what the new normal is? This is the perfect time for you to be the influential leader. How are you going to bounce back and say, this is how I can influence? Yes, Ethan, I had to bring up Avatar. I was watching it until 5 a.m. this morning, like, full disclosure. I can't get enough of that show. I've watched the entire series like 14 or 15 times. I'm on a watching of The Legend of Korra. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. There are so many life lessons in there. But thank you for joining in. Yes, Avatar. I'm all about Team Avatar. How can you tap into your inner avatar, y'all? How can you influence while being you, regardless of your authority, regardless of your role, your title, your position? What are your innate strengths that are going to draw people to you, that are going to attract people to you to say, hey, this is somebody that is being authentic with their lived experiences. This is somebody who doesn't claim to have all the answers in the world. This is somebody who is learning and growing with us every step of the way. And this is why we don't mind listening to them. What are the parts of you that speak to that? What can you contribute to the mainstream dialogue that will help us create that tidal wave of an influence movement? That is what I want you to think about. And then I want you to join me in my workshop tomorrow on practicing inclusion to be an influential leader and practicing resilience to increase your visibility and influence in your organization as a leader. Diversity, equity, and inclusion tomorrow, resilience on Wednesday. Both of them offered at 12 p.m. EST and 8 p.m. EST. Pick the time that's more convenient to you and register for it. Register anyway, even if you can't make it to the live, because you're going to get the video replay link and all of the relevant worksheets, resources, and everything else that I offer. I will be back on Thursday with more content, probably takeaways from the workshops. And I have so many stats and everything to go through, but tonight's not the night for it. I'm preparing my slide deck, so that's what I'm focused on. Does anyone have any questions about being an influential leader before I take off? I'll be here for a couple minutes. And if there are no questions, please, whether you are tuning into this live or later, please feel free to leave your questions. As soon as I get them, I will answer them, whether this is live or not. And I hope you join me for the workshops tomorrow. And I also hope you think about, what does it mean to you to be an influential leader? Do you want to lead on authority? Or do you want to lead on compassion, resilience, grace, and empathy? What kind of a leader do you want to be? Bring those answers to the workshops tomorrow and on Wednesday, and we'll unpack them. All right, that's it for me for today. I'll see you on Thursday. Bye. And absolutely, I'm 100% about the compassion, resilience, grace, and empathy. I think those are so needed, especially right now. Thank you for reinforcing that. I'm glad to know I'm not the only one thinking that. Thank you, Anne. Bye, everyone.